Alright guys, haven't done a video here in a little while, been pretty busy. Finally got some time to work on this 582 project. I was really hoping to have this project done by now because I wanted it done by spring to take this one to some shows this year, but it doesn't look like too many shows are going to be happening this spring anyway, so it'll definitely be done by fall. But I figured I'd go ahead and just update on this Kohler command swap into a 82 series, how everything's going. So far everything's gone pretty well. It hasn't really been too much of an issue. It's been pretty smooth. I decided to use the engine plate, you can see down there the yellow one, off the 1864. Even on the Cyclops, the engine plates are the same cutout. The bolt holes all match up to the frame. The only difference between the 1864 and the 582 plate was the 582 plate was just a couple inches longer, but I figured this will just give it more airflow and help out. And this plate only had a couple holes in it, where the 582 plate, it had notches cut out in it, and where my bolt holes were lining up for the motor mounts, I figured it'd probably just be better to drill the holes in this plate, and it ended up working pretty good. So if you do decide to do one of these and you find a donor tractor, if you can get the engine plate out of one of these, you don't have to, but it helps. Right now I got the covers off the tractor right now, the heat shield and everything. The other day I just put a nice coat of high temp paint on that, trying to clean all that up. I'm going to start painting the exhaust. I'm going to take all these shrouds off and degrease this whole engine once I get everything out of here. I just wanted to get this engine in here. I got my clutch assembly all put on and drill my holes in my engine plate, make sure everything's going to mount up perfect before I send this off to paint. And so far it all went pretty good. I did end up having to use, I don't know if you can see them down there, but there are some spacers that came with the 1864, maybe half inch, if that, and I did end up putting them underneath here. I'll probably have to tweak the front ones with a washer. I'm gapped up here just a little bit. If I can lift the front of that engine up just a little more, it'll put this clutch pretty close to being perfect. Reason I ended up doing that, using them spacers, is the throwout plate back in here was a little low on the bearing, so I had to get this engine up so the drive shaft, the throwout plate, would be on that bearing centered. So there again, if you get an 1864 to do one of these builds, you can use them washers. For the clutch hub, this was the clutch hub for the Command series I bought from Midwest Super Cub. This is about 1.75 inches length on this. I bought this one and I took it to a machine shop and had them machine one exactly like this, only 3 1/4 inch long. Thankfully for the Facebook Cub Cadet site, I got some really good information from some guys there, and they really helped me out, and they told me the length that I would need for this, and that's what I ended up doing. So the clutch hub in there is 3 1/4 inch long, and then this is the clutch driver from Midwest Super Cub, and bolted it all in there, and it works out perfect. Not only does it give you the right amount of length with the firewall and the fuel tank in here, with this tractor not being a pulling tractor, I'm going to put a 3-point hitch on this, and this is going to be a designated plow tractor and like rolling lawns, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do any mowing with this, but you need to get airflow back in here for the engine. So with the Midwest Super Cub one, the smaller one, the driver would be back in here, and it's also going to suffocate it with air. There again, that was people giving me ideas, telling me this on the Facebook site, so you know that really helped out. Once I put the clutch hub on, I ended up just trimming a little bit back on this plastic screen. If you can see down in there, snap that back on, then I put the driver on. So that worked out perfect too. The screen fit perfect. I was able to keep the air cleaner cover on. I know some guys had issues with that. I seen maybe a couple other ones where this didn't have the cover, just had the air cleaner, because with I don't have the firewall in here right now, but with the firewall in here, it comes up for the fuel tank. you can't lift this and pull it out. It'll catch the air filter back there. So I just ended up cutting this back out, and when you pick this up, it slides right over the air cleaner, so that works out pretty well. So getting a few things buttoned up. Once I get everything aligned here tonight, I'm going to redo all the fuel lines, spark plugs go through the engine, oil change, that kind of stuff. And there's some more stuff I'm going to do to the engine. We'll go to that next. I'm going to start working on the rear end here, and I'll show you what I was doing with that. Alright, so the other day I decided, before I took this and had it painted, I was going to pull the rear end differential cover off here and just look inside. I figured with the tractor being started to be painted, I probably don't have to paint the frame, but I'm going to anyway because I want to make sure that all the color matches 100%. I don't know really what shade and what kind of paint he used on this, so I'm just going to go ahead and repaint everything. But decided to pull the cover off. It does have the gasket in here. It really didn't leak, maybe a drop at the bottom here and there, but I was on the fence whether or not to even open this up and drain it, and I thought if I'm going through the whole tractor, I probably should, and I'm glad I did. I should have known better not to, but I jacked the front of the tractor up and let this drain in here for about 2 days just to get all the stuff out of here. But there's quite a bit of little metal shavings, which isn't a real big concern. I mean, with gears, you're going to have that, but this smells like a gear oil. It's really thick, and there was tons of sludge down in here. There was probably an inch of sludge that I pulled out of there, and there was water mixed in with this oil, so it had some condensation in it. So definitely glad that I took this off. I'm gonna clean this out completely here tonight, get the rest of that oil residue out of there, all them shavings and dirt and grime, and then I'll end up scraping this old gasket off, resealing everything, and then once I get it back from being painted, then I'll fill it up with oil, just so I don't have to. Want to make sure that I don't get nothing when I get this cover on, no oil or any kind of residue on there that would harm the paint from sticking. But one thing I'm going to do is these gaskets on here. I know I've read different things with these. I tend a lot of times I don't buy these gaskets. One, they're, even if you go through the Case IH dealers or the Cub Cadet, I'm sure you could get them online, but probably cheaper, but they're real expensive for these. I'm going to use on this one, like I've done others, I use the Permatex gear transfer case sealant, and you just put a small bead around everything, and then you put that plate on there, you finger tighten them bolts down, just finger tight, leave them sit for 24 hours and come back in and snug and torque them. And I've done quite a few of these with the Permatex sealers instead of using gaskets, and so far I haven't had anything leak. So I know some guys say the hydrostats you really shouldn't, because if you get any of that would excess go in there, but the oil is going to go through the filter first, and in the gear drive a little bit of silicone isn't going to hurt nothing. And as long as you use that stuff sparingly and you gently squeeze it on there finger tight like it tells you, and you torque them down, I don't really see any reason there's negative parts about using it at all. But if any of you guys have any reasons why you shouldn't, please comment below. I'd like to hear. Alright, we'll talk engine upgrades here. This is the oil cooler I'm going to be installing on here. I bought this. This was used off an engine that was bad. I picked this up. This is the good one, the aluminum block one, like the upgraded one I put on my Steiner 430. These are pretty simple. You take the oil filter off, and this will go on in its place. This goes through, you torque it down, oil filter screws right onto this. Now I'm going to mount this on here, and then once I get the oil filter off and all that, I'll just mark this, and then I'll have to cut a hole in here so I have room for the flywheel to blow air through this. One thing I'm going to point out with this oil cooler is it's pretty plugged. Whoever had this on their engine definitely never really cleaned it out, so I doubt that this thing was ever doing much cooling at all, being that dirty. But I'm going to go ahead while I put the all the new fuel lines and everything on. I got new lines for this as well. These are old and brittle. I'm going to put them on. So once I get the engine out of this tonight, that'll be my next thing. Throw this on the workbench, start working on all that. I don't know if the oil cooler is 100% necessary because I'm really not cutting grass with this, but like I said, I am going to be using this pretty hard for a plow tractor, that kind of stuff. So it's going to be out in the heat and it's going to be pulling hard. I figured with all the shrouds and everything on these Cub Cadets, can't hurt nothing. You know, these aren't, they don't really break the bank buying these. You can get them if you can find them on a bad engine, sort of inexpensive. So I figured if I'm going to do it, I might as well just do it now, and just a little extra option that if anyone's putting a command in here, just a little upgrade that you can do pretty easy. Just wanted to point out a couple other little options on these 82 series that were a little different. I got two grills here. They look pretty much similar, but as you can see, one's open in here and this one has metal black lines in it. This is the earlier style grill. I've got a couple tractors with these. If I do a video sometime, I'll have to throw one in there with both types of screens. This one was the earlier one for the 82 series. This is supposed to have some piece of black mesh steel on here with the holes in it that match the same type of steel that's above the headlights. I don't have that on yet because I'm going to paint it before I put it on there, but I got a couple of these older ones still laying around, and I figured for this tractor, since I'm redoing it and painting it, I'm going to go ahead and throw an old one in here instead of using the new one. International, when they first started doing these 82 series, this was the grill they used. It had the mesh screen behind it, but the story behind it, from what I got, was these tractors were getting grass and stuff collected in there, and I believe they were catching fire and they were having issues with them, so they quit using this type of grill. I don't know how long in the production this was used. I would say probably not very long. Once they started having problems, I'm sure they put the end of that pretty quick, but they came to this style now. I don't know why they put these lines in here, maybe to give it some definition to make it look more like a grill, but I think it would look better like this. I prefer this grill with the black screen. If you've seen one compared to this one, the ones with the screen looks, and I don't know, I feel they look better. So since I had a couple of these laying around, I'm going to go ahead and put the old school one in here, the first gen in this, just because it's going to be pretty much a show machine. And like I said, I don't plan on cutting grass with it or anything like that, so I'm not worried about dirt and debris. So I just wanted to point that out, just something else I'm doing to this one that's going to be a little different, you know, odds and ends from other tractors that you see. I tried to make this video short. I didn't want to make it too long. I started to do parts of videos. I was putting this stuff together, but I didn't want to bore anyone with seeing how I bolted on the clutch driver and stuff, but just wanted to point out a few things I did, and you know, the things that I'm doing for this build, because I'm sure there's other people out there that, you know, are thinking about doing this or would like to. So, you know, it's nice having these videos and stuff like that to, you know, people that are curious on how to do it. It's out there, and you know, maybe this could help someone and do this. So as always, if you guys have any questions or anything, you know, feel free to comment below. I try to answer all the comments on there. And if you have anything like information or helpful things at doing this, you know, tricks that I'm maybe doing wrong, you know, as always, you know, comment on that too. If it can help me out, you know, I appreciate that as well. So next video of this will probably be when I get it back from paint, and I hope to have that back here within the next month. There's a couple things that I'm going to do with this yet that I'm going to keep as a surprise, that I'm using off the 1864 tractor, and I just wanted to integrate a couple upgrades to this, and I think a few guys will enjoy this, and probably if they do a build, they may want to incorporate this too. Maybe not, but I don't know. I'm always coming up with ideas in my head and things like that. So I got a couple more things for a surprise in this build when I get it done. So if you're interested in seeing that or do one of these, make sure, you know, subscribe, hit the notification thing as well, and hopefully I'll have an update video on this when it's done here, and maybe in the next month, but I'd say it's probably going to be at least a couple months the way everything's going with how slow I am. But all right, just wanted to throw this on here, show the updates, and as always, thanks for watching.